Welcome, Dr. Irv Rubenstein, and congratulations on being nominated for MedFit Professional of the Year.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet you.
Definitely. So for those who aren't yet familiar with you, I'd love to just give a brief introduction. So Dr. Irv is an exercise physiologist with a PhD in exercise science. He's the co-founder and president of Steps Fitness in Nashville. He's a national presenter for continuing education seminars. He's co-authored chapters for personal training textbooks, and he has a martial arts background with the 6th Dan black belt in Taekwondo. So great to be talking with you. And to get started here, I would love for you to share with us, what was your inspiration for getting into and entering the health and fitness industry?
Well, I tell this story on my website and in person, but basically at age 11, when I went for my preschool physical, like before the school year, my pediatrician suggested to my mother that she put me in the corner of the room and had me do push-ups so that I can stretch my pec muscles because I was a round-shouldered little kid. And my aunt, a couple months later, bought me one of those spring sets that were in the back of the cartoon or comic magazines. And I started getting into that. And things just roller coasted until I broke a collarbone in high school my freshman year. And I was doing gymnastics, and I was actually able to successfully complete this trick that I've been working on. But my doc said, your muscles just weren't strong enough to handle the load. So I started taking up weightlifting. And one thing led to another, so that by the beginning of my sophomore year, I'm walking through school. It's the summertime in Philadelphia, sleeveless t-shirt, and this new PE coach came in, Mr. Gilbert. He was sort of a blonde-haired Sylvester Stallone. And he goes, "What's going on, muscles?" And for a 14-year-old boy, that's like the ego driver of all. So I spent the next 3.5 years in the weight room, went to college, got my martial arts background started, and just kept training, kept injuring myself, and subsequently just had to know more about what I was doing with my body and to my body. And that sort of drove me into the field.
Wow, so it was really this natural progression from starting at a young age.
Prepubescent. Prepubescent. And then, a pubescent boy doesn't require too much to stroke the ego. But once the muscles started to show, it was like, this is where I'm going to spend a good part of my life.
It's something that you wanted to continue.
Yeah.
So that's kind of answers part of this next question, but what else makes you different from other professionals in your field?
Well, I think that as I thought about this, there's really two elements. One is I'm not a gym rat. Yes, I got started in the weight room, but once I became an athlete and got very involved in martial arts and very competitive, I started to experience a sense of what the body needs to do in order to improve performance and how it needs to manage and prevent injuries. And that sort of drove my interest when I was in graduate school, particularly. And then subsequently after the PhD, which some people think holds a lot of water, but it really doesn't teach you how to work with people, is getting certified by some of the top organizations like the American College of Sports Medicine, National Strength and Conditioning Association, American Council on Exercise. And I was actually in the first graduating class of the NASM, National Academy of Sports Medicine. So I think being an athlete, having an athletic perspective on training and fitness requirements, and then getting certified by these top-notch organizations really helped launch my career. I'm not going to say that it established it, but it got me off to a really good start.
Definitely, yeah. Very, like you said, very well-rounded from different perspectives, and it is true. I mean, the PhD definitely holds a lot of weight for a lot of people, I think. But to your point, to actually work with clients, that's something. It's something in and of itself that you have to learn.
It helped in the initial marketing phase, and I kind of joke about it, but it's that old saying: you can fool some of the people some of the time. Just because you have an advanced degree doesn't mean you really know anything. But I do believe that having an advanced degree with an athletic background really contributes.
Definitely. And then someone who clearly continues to work on their own, their own physique and their own body. I saw you recently did 75 push-ups for your 65th. Did
Oh
I
my
see
God,
that?
you've been tracking me?
I saw that. I was very, very
It is
impressed.
only 65 for my 65th. All right. But yes, I'm on
Wow.
my way to 75 for my 66th. So
Wonderful. That's exciting. So clearly, you've been at this for a long time. You have, a lot of training, and you've worked with a lot of people. What populations do you consider yourself most qualified to help?
I, I, when I started the gym in 1989, and we've been at it now for almost 30 years, I was 37, and most of my clients were in their early 40s, and almost all of them had some issue, back problems, knee problems, whatever. And my go-to response was, you're out of shape. You're deconditioned. You really haven't done anything to improve the quality of your joints or your structural integrity. And I was, again, 37, but by the time I got into my 40s, I felt the weight of change. Things took longer to heal. Things didn't come as quickly. I could not maintain the same athleticism that I was able to do prior to that. Likewise, this proceeded into my 40s. Well, now I'm in my mid 60s. I understand much more about the aging process than many younger trainers. And I experienced this significantly when I was training, when I was working for Exercise, et cetera, doing seminars around the country. In the early and mid 90s, and even early into the early 2000s, many of the trainers were 20 to 40 years of age. By the time I stopped working with Exercise, et cetera, most of them were in their mid 40s to 60s. And I think that aging and maturation process alone helps one work with a population of similar age or older. So having 3 joint replacements gives me the opportunity to share with clients who have either had joint replacements or will be getting joint replacements an insight that they can't get from a young trainer who read about it in a magazine.
Actually, I'd love to just talk a little bit about what you've grown. I mean, with Steps Fitness in Nashville, you started a while ago, and to see that progression, is there anything that you would add about, the trainers that you have there, or the change that you've seen in the industry? Anything that you'd like to mention about your organization?
Well, I mean, I appreciate you asking that. When we started, as I said, I started with a college or graduate school colleague, and she also was very athletic, very fit, and extremely more knowledgeable than I could ever be. And our business model was to create a space where trainers could bring their clients, and also to try to create clients for these trainers. In other words, to generate clients that we would then pass on. And what I've learned is that there are people who are really very smart, very knowledgeable, capable of being good trainers, and for some reason are not, and I don't want to disparage anybody who might be listening, but who are not really professional enough to maintain a client base worthy of an income or a career. Where there are other trainers who really aren't that smart about the body. They really don't know the Latin words for the muscles. They don't know the biomechanics, but they understand the body and they understand people very well, and they communicate very well, and therefore are very successful. So as much as I like reading, I don't think that that's the essence of being a successful professional trainer. Knowing the information is not the source of communication that has to be sustained hour by hour, day by day, year by year. I've got clients I've been training for 29 and a half years. That's a long time. I've seen their children grow up. I've seen their grandchildren grow up and go to college. And you can't do that by feeding them information about this study done at XYZ University on 42 subjects with a control group of 39. They don't give a flying flip. You have to have people skills too. And I'm not saying I have them, but obviously I developed them because otherwise I wouldn't be talking to you today. So in giving advice to a trainer, yes, read, get to the heart of the literature, keep studying, knocking on the doors of knowledge. That is the way to be able to be a good trainer. But to be a successful trainer, work on your people skills, work on your communication with your colleagues, with your peers, and also with the medical community. And I think that would give you the jump start you're really looking for.